Gaming Bolt presents 15 first-person shooter gameplay mechanics that make no sense. First-person shooters are some of the most fun and successful games available in today's industry. However, they're not always full of concepts that make sense, whether applied to the real world or in that game's zany universe. Here are our top 15 picks for first-person shooter concepts that make no sense. Rocket jumping. Doom is a shooter that introduced a number of firsts, and one of those is rocket jumping. In theory, it sounds awesome, but it's still perfectly absurd. Shooting yourself in the foot with a rocket, incurring damage to reach greater heights? It's ridiculous. Ridiculously effective for getting around, but still ridiculous. Quake popularized rocket jumping, especially in competitive multiplayer, in games like Marathon, Rise of the Triad, and even Unreal Tournament with the Impact Hammer implemented it in some form. Picking up scraps of armor to wear. Picking up vests and helmets to augment your character's health with armor makes sense. Let's leave aside the fact that all armor the hero acquires just happen to fit his muscular frame. However, it can get a bit comical in games like Wolfenstein: The New Order and The Old Blood. Is your character stacking one helmet on top of another while wearing them for armor? Absurd. Exotic shards. This one is specific to Bungie's Destiny. Exotics have been a long-standing issue for a while, whether it comes to balancing or even earning them. Earlier, you could fully upgrade an exotic by using at most an exotic shard or two. However, with the new infusion system in Year 2, you have to feed a new exotic shard to your weapon every time you upgrade it. You'd think an exotic effectively cannibalizing other exotics is cool in practice, but it's just another resource headache that makes no sense. Red barrels. No matter which game you play, it's always possible to defend some of its gameplay decisions. However, who decided it was a good idea to just randomly litter explosive barrels or crates in their levels for players to conveniently shoot? Nearly every single first-person shooter has had this, and it's only compounded by the enemies who take cover behind said explosives. Regenerating health without shields. In games like Halo 5 Guardians and Borderlands, we can understand the concept of a regenerating shield. After all, it's the future. Surely humanity must have advanced enough to allow shields to effectively regenerate. But what about games with regenerating health which simply let you take cover and heal up, regardless of the number of bullets inside you? While some games have been attempting to subvert this, Wolfenstein, Far Cry 4, and yes, even Destiny, zombies and space magic for the win, come to mind. It's still something that Call of Duty and Battlefield do without a second thought. Carrying around numerous weapons at once. While this isn't as prevalent as, say, 10 years ago, we're still hard-pressed to wonder about the logic of carrying an entire arsenal in one's backpack. Don't get us wrong, we love Wolfenstein: The New Order and The New Blood for its weapon selection, but it's just not possible in any scenario to carry around so many different weapons. Killing all enemies to progress. So you're killing enemies en route to the objective, like activating an uplink or disabling a particularly nasty satellite. However, you suddenly find yourself unable to proceed. What do? Why, kill everything, of course. Unlike in older games where doors would magically unlock or keys would drop, we now have cutscenes triggering with the death of all combatants or even, believe it or not, defending against 3 waves of foes for nearly every mission to proceed. One-hit knife kills. It was only really Call of Duty which could be accused of this, and recent games have worked hard to subvert it. See Black Ops 3. But looking back, it's amazing how incredibly stupid this was. You're an elite soldier kitted with the latest in military technology, pumping your enemies full of lead, yet somehow, an idiot with a knife can kill you in one hit. Sliding. Name one instance in the real world where sliding, as it's employed in Destiny or Call of Duty Black Ops 3, has ever been effective. No, we don't see men sliding into cover. We mean sliding into your opponent with a shotgun for that sweet kill. How? How does this make any sense at all? Throwing grenades back. Don't get us wrong, we're sure there have been many scenarios in history of soldiers throwing grenades back. However, in video games, enemies never cook grenades. You always have the same amount of time to throw a grenade back, and you're never at risk of having your arm blown off. Cards/temporary weapons. The REQ system in Halo 5 and burn cards in Titanfall are pretty cool and balanced, essentially allowing for some random perks to give you an advantage at times. However, some of them are single use. You can collect multiple versions of the same card, but why in the world would an army send their soldiers in with weapons that could be used only once? Enemies that resemble each other. Video game development is hard, and yes, FPS developers don't have unlimited resources to create amazingly detailed, unique enemies at every turn. Nonetheless, it can be a bit jarring at times when you kill one enemy only to see him pop up several seconds later. Discovering perfectly usable weapons. You've just discovered a Suros regime in the Vault of Glass raid. Congratulations! Does it need any servicing? Do you have to worry about oiling or cleaning it every once in a while? Say what you will about sci-fi shooters, but realistic military shooters are worse. Pick up any enemy weapon, and regardless of calibration, scope, and modifications, it's perfectly usable. Far Cry 2 did have your gun jam every now and then as a sign of realism, but we haven't seen any other game attempt as much since. Dual wielding weapons. Dual wielding never works. No one has ever hit anything by dual wielding pistols, much less SMGs. Call of Duty, Battlefield, we could go on. Though games have eliminated or minimized it with their most recent iterations, dual wielding is still prevalent in many modern games. Amazingly destructive guns. There's nothing quite like wielding a BFG 9000 and mowing down hordes of enemies in your path. That being said, how is it possible for players to easily wield those? Shouldn't rocket launchers in Destiny have much more kick? Even for a Spartan in Halo 5, shouldn't the recoil from a railgun be enough to separate one's shoulder? No, we're not trying to be killjoys, it's just yet another FPS concept in a long line of the same that doesn't make sense. And if you like what we're doing, go ahead and click that subscribe button. See you soon.